Dan McPhee. I'm one of the narrative designers on Outer Worlds. It means that I do much of the writing, like dialogue and characters and quests and story stuff.
Yeah. It seems like Outer Worlds is like the starting point for a new world for Obsidian.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you already have like plans for expansions?
We have lots of ideas for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, we've talked about lots of other things we can do and more content and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just whether or not we get to do it is still up in the air.
Yeah. Being a narrative designer, you can kill everyone in this game, right?
You sure can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a big problem for someone who
Sure is.
wants to write a story.
Yeah, we, as with, like, we try and treat it as just another option. Like,
Yeah.
as with every option in this game, no matter what you choose to do, you can't really shoot yourself in the foot. So even if, you know, killing everyone will lock off some things, you'll get fewer options, but
Yeah.
you should be able to still complete the game.
Yeah.
So we're not going to, like, cancel out whole quests. Like, if you need someone for something, there will be another way to get it.
Okay.
And yes, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Could you give me an example of that? Because, like, if you kill some of the main characters and...
Sure. Yeah, so like if someone has, you know, the keys to a building, for example,
Yeah.
and he wants you to do a thing and he'll give you the keys, you can just kill him and take him off his body.
Yeah.
But we're never going to have it be like you kill him and it's not there, so now you're stuck, you know?
No. So it's not possible to like get a game over because you go on a rampage.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool. It also feels like a really like typical Obsidian game with a lot of like gray areas in the narrative and stuff like that. Is that a hurdle to get over? Because I mean, you have really good fans that want a new like Obsidian game.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it a hurdle. It's more just that's our style.
Yeah.
That's how we like to do moral decisions, is to present two sides of an issue. And it's not necessarily that one is better or one is worse and one is right or one is wrong. That's more up to the player and their interpretation of that issue, who they side with, who they believe in. That's just kind of one of our design pillars. Like, that's one of our goals.
Yeah.
So it's not something we had to really struggle with because it's just how we design things.
Yeah. How do you go and innovate from that?
A lot of it is what kind of stories do we want to tell in this setting.
Yeah.
So, like, if there's one of the planet we saw in the demo, Monarch, it's this crazy abandoned place, like people are barely surviving out there. We can tell stories about people who used to work for companies and who are used to a certain like stability, who have now lost that. So we can play with gray areas and morality and how they deal with that situation. There's a lot of room to grow creatively there.
Yeah. Could you give me an example of how we saw the demo a couple of hours ago?
Cool.
Could you give me an example how that could play out in different ways?
The demo?
Yeah.
Well, we're not supposed to. But I mean, so in terms of like getting to the end, there were a variety of options just to get to that point. Like they went through the disguise path, they went through the, you can shoot your way through the doors.
Yeah.
We actually have different demos showing off some of those paths depending on when you watch it.
Yeah.
So depending on when you showed up, you could see them sneak through the sewers or you could see them talk their way into the front door, that kind of stuff. There's definitely always options for those things.
Yeah. Do you have like different endings as well?
Oh yeah, tons. Yeah. It's set up similarly to how games like Fallout New Vegas did it, where at the end you kind of get a rundown of like, this happened to so-and-so, this happened to this faction, this world is in this state. So you get kind of a like state of the game world kind of thing and a little bit of the future. And we run through that like with the sort of storytelling slides kind of thing.
Yeah, okay. Talking about factions, are you able to like get totally alienated by a faction, or?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, if you piss them off, or if you kill enough of them, or if you just mess up a lot. Yeah,
yeah. So how would you play? How do you play a typical Obsidian game? Are you like the good one or the bad one? Or?
It's hard to. I personally am a very character motivated person. I like interesting characters.
Yeah.
So, for example, when I played Tyranny, the most interesting character to me was one of the villainous ones, like one of the worst evil people, and I sided with him because I like that character.
Yeah.
So I tend to approach games like I listen to people and listen to their struggles and motivations and stuff, and then I try and gather as many interesting characters as I can and ally with them. So good or bad, I don't. It's arguable.
Yeah, because I always have a trouble going like the bad way.
Yeah.
Because it feels wrong, and like I guess
Yeah.
that's the point
Yeah.
of doing a game like this.
We actually tried to give players a variety of options that aren't like the evil ones aren't like just mean,
No.
like nonsense mean, like save an orphanage or kill or kick a puppy. Like we try not to do things like that. It's more what your motivations are. So like, for example, if you're a very selfish person, like if you want to play a person that's a mercenary and all about yourself, there are a lot of options there.
Yeah.
And if you want to play just a pure psychopath, you have the option because you can just shoot everybody. But we're never going to call that out as like a terrible, mean thing to do, because we don't want to make anyone feel bad for making that choice.
Yeah. And it's a lot about companions, from what I understand. Could you tell me about your favorite ones?
Well, I wrote one of them, so I'm a little biased. The Nyoka, the hunter in the demo.
Yeah, the drunkard.
Yeah, she's super fun. The voice actress had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
But I actually really like, there's one that Natai wrote, Felix. We talked a little bit about him in the FanFest event. I like him because he's this like kind of plucky young outlaw type. He's trying to buck the system but doesn't really understand what that means. So he's very naive.
Yeah, like Billy the Kid, or
kind of, yeah. And the writer for it, Natai, he used that as an opportunity to show some other elements of the corporate system through his eyes. And so the player kind of understands where he's coming from, but also understands the truth that he doesn't quite get that goes over his head. And it's really cool. And just having him around, having him comment on things is really funny and informative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the companions like noticing how you behave? If you start like playing as a good character and recruit them, and then you start playing as more of a bad character?
Right. So we don't really track like your kind of alignment on a moral compass. Companions react to a lot of things. And they react to a lot of things in the moment, but they're not going to really stop you and be like, hey, listen, you've been a jerk.
Yeah.
But they will stop you and be like, hey, we're about to do this quest, and this is how I think we should do it.
Okay. Yeah. How do you start writing a character in a game like this?
Depends on the character. Like for minor characters, usually it's some kind of gameplay element, like this person needs to be here and do this thing. And then we try and find a sensible reason and motivation for them to do that. For more major characters, we start with things like, what kind of story points, what kind of themes do we want this character to have? For companions, it's a little bit of both. Companions have to have a gameplay purpose because they have skills and you have reasons to take them. But we also look for ways to tell different parts of the story. Like, for example, the one that I wrote, Nyoka, you find her on that planet that's been evacuated. And so you get to learn about how that happened, how that all went down, how it affected the people, because she'll tell you all of that stuff. And then from a gameplay side, she also guides you around that planet because it's a very dangerous place. She knows everyone's there. She knows all the trails and stuff. So she's really useful to have there. So we started with a, let's make a useful character who can deliver all this information, and then went and found fun ways to do that. For her, it was, she's very boisterous and likes to tell stories. So she delivers some of that information in a really fun way.
Other examples?
So for things like faction leaders, we put a lot of emphasis on like, you're gonna have to make decisions involving them. So we want their like motivations to be very believable. We want people to understand where they're coming from to make the decision to choose one, a difficult one. Because we want you to have two factions that are pretty much equal on the morality scale. It's just that they're treating these circumstances differently. And that means we have to start with, who was this person? What's their backstory? What's their motivation? Like, how did they get to this point? Whereas with other minor characters, we can just plop them down and say, they're here now, and that's enough.
Yeah.
But for major characters, we have to do quite a lot of preparation and backstory work first.
Yeah. And it seems like humor is always a factor in Obsidian games.
We try to, we try. Yeah.
Like most of the characters are a little turned up to a higher level of, like the guy we met in the factory in demo.
Clive.
Yeah.
Yeah, the psycho. We try to. I mean, it's not always appropriate. There are going to be some situations where it just needs to be serious.
Yeah.
But we do try and insert elements of humor where we can. Like there's one of the faction leaders is kind of a sort of cult of personality sort of nut job. And there's a lot of humor in his conversation because he's very motivated by like spreading the word and being like kind of evangelical about it. Whereas his right-hand person is like, yo, we should be getting like food and medicine and like focusing on things that will keep us alive. So they're back and forth. We found ways to do humor there, even if it's not specifically on him.
Yeah.
So we try, yeah.
Is it sometimes frustrating in a like big open world game like this that you put a lot of emphasis on like small characters that like a lot of people are not even gonna notice?
I actually don't mind that. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
A lot of people are frustrated by that. I personally don't, because one of the things that I like in a game is when I play it once and then play it again and find new stuff. I don't want to play it once and just be done. I want to come back and find new things. And if we spend enough effort on all those little NPCs everywhere, or little like things to find in nooks and crannies and stuff, that means that my playthrough and your playthrough are different, and that gives me a lot of reason to keep playing it over and over and over again. I think that's really cool.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah. Thank you.
I will dismantle this.